Hi, I'm Jessica Van Vonderen from ABC News. This year in Queensland we launched a segment where you were able to tell your stories about the people, places and projects making a difference in your community. Here are some of your favourites from across southeast Queensland. First up, a couple from Morayfield, north of Brisbane, who've opened up their hearts and wallets to care for dogs that no one wants. The dogs are often abandoned because they're ageing, but now they have a sanctuary to live out their days.
There are so many senior dogs in the shelters and rescues, even in the RSPCA. People don't want senior dogs. They cost money, there's vet bills. But we don't worry about that. We just make sure that they're loved and cared for. Senior dogs are amazing. You get them fit and healthy and they thrive. They become young again.
They all get on pretty well. They have dramas, but that's where we step into them and sort it out, and they all settle down and they all get on well.
We bought this property for the dogs. We went to the real estate 5 years ago and said, we need a low set property, we can put ramps in, we need it for old dogs.
They seem to come here and they get a new lease of life and they last about 2 or 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. We don't know how long they're going to last for.
Around 13, 14 years ago, I'd been fostering dogs. The shelter called me about an old dog called Sally, and she was very old. She didn't have much time left, and they asked if I could come in and perhaps foster her and look after her till she passes. So I went in and I was heartbroken when I saw her. She was very depressed. Her family had abandoned her, and I brought her home. We used to take her to the park. Everybody knew Sally. And we only had a short time with her, probably a year and a half. She passed away and we knew that that was our calling, that is what we were supposed to do, that was our purpose, that we were to look after senior dogs. We've lost many, many dogs. We have a cemetery and the bigger dogs get cremated and come back home, and we bury the smaller ones there so they stay with us. That's always the hard time, is the saying goodbye, but it's the most important time because that's when they need us the most. That's when they need us to be calm. We have the vet come to the house. They're in our arms and they know they're loved. I've passed it on to my daughter. I've always said to her, once we die, everything here is hers.
Now to a father and son who refuse to accept the word can't. They've created a football program for children of all abilities. Jay Larkins has helped hundreds of kids overcome challenges, and his son Jared has become a Paralympic soccer player.
The reason I don't call this a disability program and call it all abilities or challenged is that I just don't worry about the ability. We have some very challenged children here that just getting them on the park and getting them to stay here is a real challenge.
Good job, Odin. Odin is my son and he's 5 years old. He has autism and he's non-verbal. When we first came, it was sort of similar to a lot of the other programs. I felt that it wasn't going to work, but I had a conversation with Jay and he really listened. And the next week he had a team of 5, I think it was, to work solely with Odin. One of them was a trained occupational therapist, and they spent the whole session working with him, finding out what he likes, finding out what works for him, what excites him, and from there he's just come on leaps and bounds.
Yes, good job.
Odin's allowed me to enter into his world. I get so much pleasure when this kid that didn't even want to walk in this park now runs on, and I'd have to be one of the most grateful coaches in the world. Jared has cerebral palsy He couldn't walk unaided until he was 4.5. Had a lot of trouble until he was 5 at actually communicating and talking. You know, it was really hard for me as a parent because I didn't know what to do. There was nowhere to go, and so I decided to create Jared's own program, and that's why I created the program. It was for him.
I guess when I was growing up, I didn't have anything like this, so to be able to come down every Sunday and provide something like this for everybody and being so inclusive, I feel like it definitely makes me feel like a better person.
Jay's incredible, and it's Jay's son who's my sort of inspiration for Joshy. Just before he turned 3, we started coming down here. It was basically a push every week, only because he probably didn't get the whole gist of it, and all I saw was the fact that there were all these volunteers that were OTs and physios. He loves coming down here now and loves playing football and being part of the team.
Scoring goals and playing with my teammates.
I feel like in a way I owe it to these guys to show up every Sunday regardless of how I'm feeling, because these guys, they literally can't wait all week just to have a kick around on a Sunday with us.
He's represented Australia 17 times. He's had the pleasure of wearing the Australian jersey all over the world, and as a father especially, but as a coach and a person who's trying to give other families the same joy, I couldn't be more prouder of him.
Well, let's go to Bribie Island now to meet a community that's connected by the joy of music. What started off as a solitary man strumming a ukulele on the foreshore has become a weekly get-together and jam session.
Well, we started the group about 2.5 years ago. It was just one of us, and I was so persistent that eventually people started to join us. Well, we keep it going because it's a fun thing. Everybody enjoys it. It's good for the local people because everybody coming past smiles. Some people try to get around us as if they can get away from us, but most of the people come along, join in, sing, and it's an interest for the area.
Hello, I'm Joan. I live on Bribie Island and I play uke and I love it. And it keeps me off the street, and I'm 91 years old. I'm blind. I put little knobs on my ukulele from the Blind Society. It's my obsession.
I'm a pastor of a church down in Brisbane, and we were walking along by the jetty and we heard this music. And I said to my wife, do you mind if we go over there? Mind if we just see what's going on? So we nudged a bit closer and a bit closer, and then we got the call out, hey, come on over and sing. And we go, oh, I don't really know the songs. And, you know, oh, we'll play a uke. And I said, we don't play uke. And they said, well, you can learn. So I think the welcome was calling us in straight away.
Ukulele is a nice portable instrument. It's a cheeky little instrument because everybody plays. You can't be grumpy with it. You can only be happy.
Yeah, every Monday it's my day off, it's my time to get away, it's my time to go in a different headspace, to look at the water, to look at the boat over there in the wind, and it really rocks, and so do these guys.
Well, beautiful backyard gardens don't just grow, they're lovingly curated, sometimes for decades, by the owners who created them. But when those owners become frail or are forced to move on, bulldozers frequently move in. But at Maruka in Brisbane southwest, a group of gardeners is making sure prized plants find new homes.
I think gardeners have a beautiful connection. No one understands the connection to the earth and the garden like a fellow gardener. So I know for myself, I've got some plants that I've absolutely cherished, and if someone could take those on when I can no longer do it, I just know what that would mean for me.
My garden was very important. I lived in my home for 44 years. I loved walking through my garden, no matter what the weather was like, no matter what mood I was in, it always uplifted me. Once I sold my house, I had 30 days in which to decide what plants can I take with me and what am I going to do with the ones I can't.
I met Wendy online and she was about to have the whole place bulldozed down because she had sold, and I pulled about 50 gerbras from her garden that afternoon.
Every plant that I had in the garden had a story. The gerbras that I gave to Anthony, they belonged to an elderly friend of mine. The plants that she gave me became a legacy, and those plants eventually were given to people like Anthony and to the grandson and the granddaughter of the lady who actually grew them.
Gardens are being ripped out, units are going up. It's just changing the landscape of Brisbane, and that loss of garden heritage I just thought was a bit sad. So I started this group, thought I'd find out if there was any interest if other people found it the same. And in the first weekend I had about 150 people join straight up and just say that they thought it was a really good idea, and they also lamented the loss of these amazing gardens.
A teacher from Deception Bay, north of Brisbane, is helping to rewrite the books on educating teenagers who don't cope well in a classroom. He's helping them to reconnect with nature and is achieving great results.
Mainstream education, it's not a one-stop shop. They've got children in many schools that simply don't cope with that 9 to 3 where they're sitting in 6 classes a day inside a classroom and working inside and out of textbooks. Come on. The sort of children that we have, they are a challenge. They come as disengaged kids from a normal curriculum. They're part of a class of maybe 30, maybe 32, whereas here we can have class sizes of about 12.
I came here because my other school was just too bland for me and I couldn't focus too much.
The school I was at last that weren't helping me with the support I needed, and as soon as I saw this place had animals, I was really excited to come.
It's great fun to bond with all the animals and stuff.
The style of kid that we deal with here, they come from such varying backgrounds that it takes a long time to, I suppose, to get a child to trust. When you gain a student's trust, then you can actually get to work with them and actually challenge them and actually make them a better person.
He's an amazing teacher. He helps out anybody in any way that he can. And if there's a problem that needs to be fixed, he will find a way to fix it.
We have a main school curriculum which bases itself on 4 subjects: maths, English, integrated and HPE. But then over and above that, we try to engage the kids with activities that actually suit what they're interested in.
Just being out and about, working on random little things, little projects that don't mean anything at the moment, but mean something in the long run. Kind of makes me feel better about myself knowing that people are going to see it and they're going to appreciate the work that's been put into it.
When they've built something, when they've made something, when something grows, there is a real sense of enjoyment there. And a lot of these kids, I suppose, haven't smiled in normal mainstream schools. But if we can get them to smile and feel good about themselves, I think we're achieving something.
Well, we're doing a passion project and everyone picks what they're doing, and I'm raising baby ducklings from eggs, so I'm incubating them and raising them, and they'll be there to help kids regulate their emotions. And if they're upset, they can just come and hold it, and they're cute and fluffy and they're just awesome to be around.
It's definitely a reconnect with Earth and with animals. There's a lot of kids come here who have sat on phones and computers for a great deal of their life. I think by running this sort of program here, we can actually engage kids and get them to reconnect with the Earth and with animals, and I think that's what we're aiming to do.
We hope you enjoyed that selection from our What's Your Story series, and you can see more on the ABC News YouTube channel.